So in brevity, some of the points of consideration around anxiety are the genetic and environmental influences. So the research suggests there are certain genes that maybe potentially influence risk for anxiety, like the 5-HTT-LPR gene associated with reactivity, threat, and neuroticism trait. So what has research suggested, predominantly in animal studies? Well, inadequate care in early life is associated to increased reactivity to stress and anxiety in adulthood, epigenetic mechanisms. So you've got this gene environmental factors interacting with DNA, methylation, and gene expression. So for example, in brevity, the rat licking experiments, the research around that, where in the first week of the rats being born, the way the mother nurtures the rats, the baby rats, is through licking. And it was proven that the rats that didn't receive that nurturing years later would have a higher disposition to anxiety and aggression. So we can sort of translate that from a human perspective. So how the environmental factors, the environment we're brought up in, and obviously our genes have a sort of correlating effect to anxiety. There's a classical condition theory. So when a neutral threat becomes a threat by association, that's quite Pavlovian. So you've got a threatening stimulus becomes associated with a neutral stimulus that occurs simultaneously. What comes to mind is the little Albert experiments in the 20s. We had a child, this is not an ethical experiment, by the way, a baby, 9-month-old baby, where it had no known threat other than loud noises and falling. And basically they gave it a rabbit or a rat to hold. It was fine, domesticated one anyway. And then what they did when the baby held the rabbit, they would bang a real loud noise behind baby. And then you got a paired stimulus. The baby became afraid of the rat. So you got an associated with a neutral stimulus that occurs simultaneously. So that theory underpins the extinction, which is obviously part of CBT for anxiety, the extinction that sort of is part of CBT for anxiety.